It's a very interesting topic, and well, it injects new hope, because it's a new dimension that is happening on Egyptian soil, and Egypt putting education at the forefront of our 2030 vision for sustainability.
That is very true. Very critical topic and very significant topic. But before we start talking about that, let me just send a message, a solidarity message to all the people living in Palestine. We share with all of them the feeling of pain, the feeling of sorrow. We would like to submit also our condolences to all the victims, and hopefully peace will be overcoming and will be probably overwhelming by Egypt's efforts. I'm pretty sure Egypt is just doing its best to make peace over Israel, because this is the only option that can make our achievement coming at the end very soon. Now, back again to our topic, universities and educational universities and international colleges and universities. I think that this is very, very interesting to talk about that today. As we were talking about this topic before, we were talking about that we have different international colleges today in Egypt. This is part of the soft power of our country. Yes. We are talking, I was just reviewing the report issued by the Minister of Higher Education, Dr. Khalid Abdel Tawwab, and we were talking about something related to bringing 12,000 international students to be educated in our country, Egypt. Yeah. We are talking about building up new British universities, American universities, Canadian universities as well. And so we have the sense of the soft power that we've been talking about that before. The question that I have today, and probably this is a very critical question, why do we make all of that? Because for different beneficial points. Yes. Number one, we would like, as a matter of fact, to make Egypt as international educational center in the Middle East. We would like to create that sense of genuine diversity in our country. We would like also, we can connect that with the economic level. So we can also boost up the economic skill and the economic progress in our country. There is a connection, as a matter of fact, between education from one hand, investment on the other hand. And this is why they consider education, it's not just the way of learning, but on the long-term concept, this is an investment, but investment for the human capital.
Definitely investment in the human capital, and under the leadership of His Excellency President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi, Egypt today is investing in the human being. It's very important to bring about cadres who are really capable of being creative. And this won't happen unless you invest in the human being. Since being kids, all throughout the way, well, coaching them and training them to have this sense of innovation. Having this sense of creativity and innovation, this does not come around by chance or haphazardly.
That's very true, and that's why this is part and parcel of Egypt's Vision 2030.
Yeah.
There is a 5-year plan, there is a 10-year plan as well. And let me tell you something here very, very interesting as well, which is when we talk about training, we are talking about the training of the students, the training of the faculty, of the professors, the training of the employees as well. We are talking about different parts in the educational circle to include everyone. Today, we are witnessing drastic, if I would say that, or dramatic change happening in educational systems in Egypt today. Just before we go for this episode, we were talking together about what happened during the second semester for this academic year. So today, for example, and this is something when I just think about that, I always ask myself, what happened? What kind of change do we have nowadays? So I can just send a very short message to more than 2,000 students just by one click. There is a change that's happening nowadays. And there is, let me just say, a determination for our country to be competitive, to reach the level of international standards and international competitive levels, to make our graduates at the end to find job opportunities, not just in Egypt. We are not talking today about Egypt, but we are trying to find different job opportunities in different countries. And as I said before, that the map today is totally different. So you can just work in your country and you can have a connection with another international company abroad or outside Egypt. So the situation, our lifestyle today is completely different from the past.
Yes.
And I think that Egypt is trying to cope with the international changes that's happening, even when we even consider what's happening regarding the COVID-19 changes and what happened in the world today. So we are trying just to make everything go in a perfect way, and at the same time in a very progressive sense.
Yes, great that you've mentioned keeping pace with what is happening worldwide, because this is really very trendy.
Right.
Today, the trend and the vision is going for the digital world as a whole, and we have the great initiative that has been directed by the President for a digital Egypt. This won't happen unless we have this sense of a format of the different services present, and among those services are the universities. Egypt has opened a new generation of international universities. We do have a British university, a French university, the AUC, of course, the American university, serving also the new ones, and under the new umbrella, it's co-relevant with new technologies.
Right, that's very true. Let me just add also something else. In addition to the international universities that Egypt is just trying to have nowadays, there is also something which is called the civil style of universities as well. So civil universities, governmental or public universities, private universities, international universities. Why do we? So we have a variety of universities, because we believe that education is the powerful key when it comes to the progress of this nation.
Yes.
And again, I was just thinking before about Egypt is trying nowadays to bring international students to study and to be educated in Egypt. Why do we have that? Because this is part of the soft power of the country. Look to what United States is doing every year. And as you know, that I got Fulbright grant before. It's an American grant in order to study and in order to work in an American university. Today, Egypt is just doing the same. So we are bringing students, and in this way, it does have also a very significant impact on the cultural level. So it increases the level of tolerance, it increases the level of understanding, international understanding. It makes people more open. And to have that sense of open-minded style, because when you deal with international students with international levels, then you immerse yourself in international cultures, and in this way it makes you more open for different changes. And this is what we are looking for, to have a graduate with international levels, international standards, tolerant, competitive with the international job market, and in this way we can just make the job done in a perfect way.
Yes, doing the job done in a perfect way. This is actually a question that has been always on debate, how to make the whole job getting finished in the best way possible, and at the same time how we can do it in accordance with the whole beat worldwide. So today it has been really very catchy, and lots of our friends abroad were really admiring the fact that globally accredited universities are present in Egypt, because this is definitely a step forward. As you've mentioned, Dr. Ahmed, that it is going to be a new window of opportunity, that it is going to help us also get attached to different cultures, and it's a great exposure. You are you were a student who had been accredited with Fulbright, as you've said. What could be the pros and cons of such experiences? Maybe you can tell us more about what does it take to have accreditation to such programs, and how can those programs be quite useful for you in the future? How did it really reflect on you as a professor later?
Well, first of all, for such international grants, and I think that this is what Egypt is trying to offer nowadays, it makes those who are in the field of education to be ambassadors for their countries, to be international scholars as well, to be more immersed in different environment, and to acquire and gain international experience that can be very beneficial when you get back to your country. And this is what's happening today. So when you gain the international experience outside, then you go back again to your country and you convey such experiences to your students. And this is what's happening when we bring international students to Egypt. Then, believe it or not, it's another way of indirect way of marketing for our country. And so when they come here and they see the customs, the traditions, the way of lifestyle, and everything related to Egyptian culture. Then when they travel abroad, then they keep talking about that. This is part, as I said before, of the soft power. And you remember when we were talking about Al-Azhar institution and the Coptic Church as well, both of them are very significant. Why? Because they have that sense of very significant effect internationally. So you have students coming to study in Al-Azhar, and then you have the impact of the Coptic Church in different countries. Then you can just see how Egypt has very powerful ways that could be probably invested in an optimal way. So back again to your point, because this is very critical. People sometimes believe when you travel abroad, then you're going to have something like brainwashing style. This is not true. As a matter of fact, when you travel abroad, your mind will be more open to different changes.
And you can definitely be an ambassador of your hawiyya, of your identity.
Identity, absolutely right. And it makes you more loyal to your home place. And I remember when I was in the United States, and every time I was traveling there, I always had that sense of homesickness. So I was just
and marketing Egypt at the same time.
You see? And so people sometimes were asking me, so tell us more about the history in your country, tell us more about the culture in your country. So that is the beneficial part. Remember what, I remember a very important and very significant statement by the former U.S. Secretary of State, Colin Powell, when he said that I cannot find something more valuable to the United States than to bring students to be educated in our country, because they will be the future leaders of their countries in one day. So this, you can just see how it works in the long term. This is all about long-term investment, but in a very positive way.
Yeah, and long-term investment in a very positive way. And while we are preparing the students of today to be the leaders of tomorrow, and this is another concept that we need to work on. Do those students need coaching in order to acquire those sense of leadership skills? What does it take in order to bring about those leaders in an environment which is really very healthy and a climate that is quite encouraging and would help them actually perform according to an international standards? We are always talking about this sense of an international standard and talking about universities also accreditation, that we hear this term from every now and then. However, it is great that you're with us so that you would tell our viewers more about the choice of those universities. If I do have like more than one international university around, where to go? What sort of criteria? For you, it was mainly basic because it was co-relevant to a special program. But how about when you have more than one globally accredited university around?
Well, it makes, it does have many beneficial results at the end.
Diversification of choices.
That is one point, as you said, diversity in our community. This is one hand. It does have also something like increasing and expanding the cultural understanding. This is from another different side. It also helps in making economic achievement, because when you bring students, then there is money spent for education here as well. So there is a positive, interactive, dynamic sense happening in educational system, and it makes Egypt on the international map. This is what we are talking about. We like
when international students are uplooking the potential of international Egyptian universities, and they want to join.
And just the other day, I was reading a statement by the Minister of Higher Education talking about that there is a huge leap happened when it comes to the ranking of Egyptian universities. It jumps, it was, I remember it was 102, 102, 103, something like that, and now it became like 82 or 83. There is like something like 20 positions, progresses happening here for the ranking. This is something very important. Something else that we have to consider as well, that today that there is a scientific research centers in every universities, and they are well connected together electronically. We didn't have that before. And so when you just make the whole system electronically connected together, that really helps also in making a progress for the education. Today we are talking, and we've been talking in my college, in my university all the time about quality and the quality. Today we are just moving for the concept of comprehensive quality. So it's not just about the professors or the students and the syllabi. When it comes to the syllabi, there is also a deep-rooted change happening. So it is not, as it was in the past, more flexible, more dynamic, and making the syllabi to be connected with the job market at the end. This is what we are looking for. There is something very important, which is to connect your students inside the class with their life outside the class. If you didn't make that, then education in this way doesn't make any sense. What is the benefit of education if I just educate the students inside class, and when they just go out, they have no connection, right? So this is what we are trying to do today. The concept of education today is totally different from the past, and I kept talking about that before, and I have a deep conviction about this way, because education is always considered as a very effective weapon when it comes to our Egyptian identity.
Yes, we have many weapons in order to preserve our Egyptian identity.